Greetings and peace to you all. My name is Umi. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. Thank you to everyone who has liked, shared, or subscribed to my channel. You've supported my channel through donations or booking sessions. I really appreciate the support. So today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you don't like people. I'm not saying you don't love people, but some of us just don't like people. So this is not an all-inclusive list. There may be some things I don't mention here. And as I always say, take what you need and discard the rest. Number 1 is you find people to be needy. Reciprocity is lacking. You attract users and abusers. This can be true for perhaps Pisces or Cancer or Taurus. You can be loyal to a fault. And in this case, over time, we eventually stop liking people. We can develop a disdain for people and relationships because of experiences we've had. Do people only call you or show up when they need something? If this is a continual thing, or this has been the theme in your life over time, then your interest in relationships and developing relationships can be thwarted because it's hard for you to get past a certain barrier, especially when it starts to seem like a repeated thing where people just only call you when they need something. Number 2, you are an empath. You're very sensitive to people's energy, and you've come to realize that people have absolutely no control over their energetic emissions. Therefore, when you're in the presence of others, whether it's employees or friends and family, or you're just out in public, you're absorbing a lot, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so over time, you start to develop a dislike of people. I don't like being around people. You don't want to be in social settings. You don't want to be at the store or concerts or anywhere where there's a gathering of people, or anywhere where you have to interact with people, because you feel, I absorb a lot. I'm really sensitive. You get home and you feel heavy, you feel burdened, or maybe you get home and you're super hyperactive, you're super silly and playful, and then you crash. So absorbing other people's energy is not only burdensome, but it eventually turns into us just not wanting to be around people. Number 3, you hate superficial interactions, pointless conversations. Talking or dealing with people who are just less than stimulating can develop into a dislike of people. Yes, we can become judgmental and cynical because of this, but just overall, if you're someone who yourself, you feel that you're deep, you're complex, you just thirst for a soul-to-soul deep connection with someone, being out and meeting people, or getting new friends, these things can feel a bit like annoying for you. You can feel like, I don't have time for these superficial relationships. And I find this to be particularly true, especially if your sign is Capricorn or Scorpio. Capricorns are usually about business and to the point and more straightforward and a bit more serious. And so silliness and, kind of people who are just too over the top and boisterous and provocative, these types of interactions can make you want to avoid people when you're a more serious, disciplined kind of person. Scorpio, because you're deep by nature, because you like to pierce through people, you can often see the superficiality from a mile away. And again, it's not to say that people don't have other layers to them, but that first impression or time spent in conversation, if it's not going anywhere for you, then you just much rather avoid the interaction. We are living in an age, a time right now, the information age, where social media has really promoted these sort of superficial facade-like personalities and lifestyles that can be a deterrent for genuine souls who want to get to know a person, wanted to dive deep within the relationship. Number 4, you have a fear of being judged and criticized. You don't like people or to interact with people because you feel people are always looking at you, and you'd much rather be the gray man. You'd like to be the person that just people don't really notice. However, when we're forced to interact, when we're forced to be out around people, meet people, that brings attention to us. And so we can feel we're being judged, and we can feel less than worthy in certain settings. And this over time does develop into, I don't like people, people are cruel, people judge me, people troll, people are just mean. We just have this belief that we develop because we always feel that we're being judged or criticized. even when that's not necessarily the case. So if you're someone who's rather, you may consider yourself an introvert, sure, but if you're just someone who looks at people as just being messy and, you know, rude, then that would obviously make you not like people, not being around people where there's a need for you to have to perform or you to have to put on a show so that you don't feel so judged. Yes, that can be draining. It could just require too much from you than you're willing to give. Number 5, and this is the most interesting to me, is that you don't really feel human. I know this sounds a bit strange to some of you, but yes, there are souls among us who just don't feel as if the human experience fits them. They feel interactions with people is forced or fake or foreign, and they even have a certain otherworldly essence about them. So some of you may or may not have met people that just don't they don't know how to follow conversation or how to respond, or maybe they're very standoffish. So these individuals cannot like people for the simple fact that they don't feel welcomed in conversation. They don't feel they belong in conversation or relationships. Interactions for them feel a bit strenuous because they don't feel or see themselves as human. That sort of otherworldly mentality can come from how it is that they relate spiritually to their existence. So they may see themselves as being from another star system. They may feel, just if it's not something that extreme, and in the case of, you know, I'm not from here, I'm an alien type of thing, they just may feel foreign within themselves. Like there's a detachment, a disconnect from human emotions and human expression. So this is unique, but it's definitely something that affects people. And now with people becoming more spiritually inclined in the sense of they're meditating, they're studying the occult, they're exploring different things, that emotional detachment can become heightened and relationships can feel very difficult. It's hard to have mundane conversations and just talk about everyday life with people when you're always thinking beyond the stars and about existential things. I want to share some solutions here to some of these. Again, you not liking people could be as a result of just your upbringing. You know, your parents were very judgmental, critical, rude, or just made you fear people, made you judge people. So the beauty in all of this is that we can learn from our perceptions and how we receive relationships and interactions. One solution I would like to recommend is to surrender. What you resist will persist. If you resist relationships and being around people and communicating with people, it's only going to make it harder for yourself. You have to be welcoming. You have to be able to receive. And when we're receptive to what relationships and people have to teach us, we grow. Maybe you didn't know that you were prejudiced. Maybe you didn't know you had certain prejudice until you started having interactions and then these things came to the surface. It helps us to work on our character, refine our personality. Relationships serve a purpose. I would also like to suggest establishing boundaries. This is key, Pisces. You got to have boundaries. You got to know when to say no, and you have to know when to protect yourself. And this is for everybody, all signs. If you don't know what for you feels like a comfortable level of engagement with a person, then you can be wide open to a lot of things. People's opinions, people's energy, people's beliefs. You can just absorb all of that and walk away feeling hopeless or miserable. So a boundary can also be you creating a force field around yourself. I know when I have to be in certain social settings, I can develop some anxiety because I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know what people have going on in their minds when I'm out in public, and it creates a little bit of anxiety. I often have my children in tow. So I just imagine myself in this like force field. Whatever people got going on in their life isn't penetrating me. I can get in and get out and do what I need to do. Or when I'm in certain environments, once I get a good feel for the space and people's conversation, how genuine it is, and if there's love in the room, then I can let that force field fall. I can let it dismantle and I can be there to receive it. But if people are toxic, gossiping, being annoying, being, overly aggressive in their attitudes and opinions, I put my force field up, let them talk, let them do their thing. And when I leave, I don't feel as impacted. So it's very much about visualization. It's very much about how much of the spiritual work you're doing when you're not around people. So your meditative practices, what you're reading and absorbing on a soul level, that is going to serve as a force field for you. It protects you. You won't absorb things so naively, like just open to everything. Practice love and practice patience. Relationships are the ideal way for us to practice love and to practice patience with one another. I know homeschooling my children, there have been many times at the table where I just got outright frustrated because I was losing patience and trying to explain, basic math to my 5-year-old, 6-year-old. So after spending enough time and seeing when I was becoming impatient and why, I could revisit that within myself and say, okay, check yourself. Is this worth you losing your patience over? Develop your patience. And so that very notion of spending more time in the very thing that was making me lose my patience has helped me to develop it. So if you're someone finding relationships to be difficult and strenuous, I'm not saying run out there and jump into a relationship or run and just, meet people for the sake of it, but enter into these unions, into these relationships or interactions with people, seeing what about yourself you can improve. How can I develop greater love and tolerance and appreciation for relationships and interactions with people? You may find that you mature a lot when you're in certain settings where people are obnoxious and rude and provocative. It may help reflect to you like, oh, I don't want to display that behavior. And it helps you to develop your character. So we learn from other souls and we develop and refine our own personality, and we are able to examine our own character flaws. So lastly here, I just want to say, accept the challenge. Know that while we're here on this planet, we are meant to enjoy the human experience. We're meant to go through challenges. We're meant to learn ourselves and experience life, not as soul loners on this earth, but as a part of the human family, the human race. So unless you're interested in going off to the mountains and living in a cave, or going off where isolation and time spent alone is necessary for you, I think it's important that you observe your relationships and explore them. Explore yourself through your relationships. See the benefit in getting to know people and getting to know yourself. So if you feel you don't like people, do that self-analysis. I'm not saying overnight you're going to all of a sudden find, your interactions just, amazing and fun and wonderful. But you'll be able to approach it from a new perspective. You'll be a lot more receptive to lessons learned. You'll be a lot more receptive to how it is you understand people. You can observe people from a level of, I'm not here to judge. Yes, this person may seem, unevolved in your mind, or they may seem a bit messy, or they may seem draining. This is when you learn what boundaries are about. This is when you learn what relationships you resonate with and which ones you don't. So it's all about learning, discovery, growth, healing. We can definitely heal one another. Relationships serve that purpose. When we identify someone who's struggling or displaying some type of behavior that is offensive or challenges us, speak on it. Don't let that person walk out your life not knowing what it is about themselves that is difficult to receive by others. By telling them, hey, you're very aggressive and you're very obnoxious, or you're abusing our friendship. If you don't express these things, they're not going to learn about themselves. They may challenge what you're saying, but that's fine. At least you were honest and genuine in saying, I'm going to share this with this individual so they themselves can grow. So self-analysis, sharing and speaking our truth with love, with finesse, with patience, with tolerance, are ways that we can turn that dislike of people into a genuine interest in people and a love for people. So I hope that you guys found this video useful. I'm available for sessions if you want to talk and build. That 40% off is still going on for a short while. That contact information and all of that is in the description. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.